What's up? I thought today we'd talk about this concept of new media fatigue. And that's kind of the unholy alliance of sensationalism, narcissism, and slothfulness. It's kind of this vicious cycle that we see all around us if you're part of this new media trend. When I say new media, I mean things like watching folks on YouTube or following someone on Twitter. These kind of technologically, like these digital tech platforms where you get information very quickly and regularly. That's kind of what I mean by new media. So I wanted to dive into each of those concepts really briefly, give a brief definition, kind of explain the cycle, how they kind of feed into each other, and then figure out why this is happening. So first of all, let's talk about sensationalism. What is sensationalism? It's exciting or shocking stories crafted to provoke public interest or response, often with incomplete or inaccurate information. I'm sure we can all think of examples of sensationalism. That's kind of the big initial issue with this cycle. The next one is narcissism, which is essentially selfishness combined with a lack of empathy, a need for admiration, and a bit of stubborn pride in there as well. So, for an example of this playing out is you're completely unwilling to back down, even when you know you might be wrong, or if your mind actually does change, publicly you're not willing to really acknowledge that because that would show people that you were wrong before, and God forbid that's true. The last one is slothfulness. This is essentially laziness, reluctance to work or make any kind of effort. In the context of this discussion, it's sort of an unwillingness to dig in and find the full story because it's easier to just get a headline or something more succinct that someone else kind of compiled or organized for you. And fair enough, look, I'm not claiming, by the way, that I am exempt from these things. I have absolutely participated in levels of sensationalism. I have been narcissistic before, and I've been lazy. I think each of us have. So I'm not trying to make this video to say, here are all the things everyone else is, and I'm not. I'm just trying to create a helpful dialogue about why I think there's this fatigue around, people say, oh, yeah, Twitter's cancer, right? They say, like, YouTube drama is, like, terrible. There's a bit of truth to it, and I wanted to figure out why that is. So let's talk about the cycle. So first of all, some influential figure or some media source will have a knee-jerk reaction to something said or done in the community, in the culture, in the news, whatever it is, and then they'll only have part of the story. They'll have a partial set of what's going on, and then they'll create content with this partial information and this knee-jerk reaction. And sometimes, depending on the source, depending on the influential individual, there will be a call to action at the end to do something. We need to do something about this, right? Well, then you have the two factions that kind of respond to this video. You have the loyalists and the followers that say, yeah, I'm on this side. And then you have the dissenters and the other folks who are on the other side. And then you kind of have this tribalism that kind of comes out from this incomplete story. And then eventually more information may come out that fills those gaps so that you actually have all the information. But of course, when that information comes out later, the level of shock and awe is not the same as it was when the news came out initially. So either less people will see it or just people won't really care about it. And then the last part of the cycle is occasionally one of these influencers or influential figures or media sources will come out and say, hey, here's a follow-up. I want to clarify what was said earlier. Here's all the information. But often it's too little too late. And the damage done by the sensationalist piece they did earlier already has taken effect. And everyone that's too narcissistic to say, oh, I was wrong before, are going to double down and say, no, I still hold true to this view that I had because consistency, and I can't seem like I'm, wrong sometimes. And then, of course, the general laziness. It's more effort to pick the more meaningful option over the more expedient option. So people will pick the more expedient option every time out of laziness. So how is this the norm? How did this kind of come to be? I would say there's three main things that I've been really thinking about that cause this cycle to occur. The first one is we have an abundance of leisure time. And that's obviously a broad stroke statement. There are people today that are really struggling and they work 80-hour work weeks. But of course, you have to remember that compared to the rest of human existence, the fact that I'm able to sit down and write down some thoughts and record some video for you proves that we have some level of leisure time. We have vast industries in entertainment, and people stream on Twitch for hours. So it's very, very obvious that by and large, across even the whole world compared to where we were 1,000, even 100 years ago, we have so much leisure time. So if you think about the first Renaissance, that's when folks started painting and started exploring the arts and culture developed. But I feel like now we're in a 2.0 Renaissance, where with technology, we have even more leisure time than we know what to do with. So that leads me to my next point. So first is abundance of leisure time. Second is obsession with entertainment. As a culture, we are obsessed with entertainment. It dominates some of the biggest, most successful money-making industries. It dominates the majority of a lot of our days. You might have work as well, obviously, but compared to like working, entertainment's a massive chunk of your day, just being entertained. And so that makes us kind of obsessed with what's stimulating over what might be true or meaningful. So, and as a result, we also have decreased our attention spans by quite a bit. The last point is there's this wave, this new movement to pursue hedonism over responsibility. Hedonism being the pursuit of pleasure and self-indulgence as your main purpose in life. Instead of thinking about finding something beyond yourself, it's all about serving yourself. So those are the three things I think that contribute and kind of feed into this cycle. Of course, I'm a futurist. I believe technology is essentially helping and progressing human flourishing overall, but there are clearly downsides as well, and I think these are some of them. I would love to hear thoughts. I know this was kind of a dense video, packed with more information than I've provided before, but I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Are there any clues that I'm missing out on? Do you have any thoughts to add? I'd love to hear it all. Thanks.